Hello and welcome to Minecraft Snapshot 23W13A. Yeah, sounds about right. In this snapshot, a few things have been added. Most importantly for my causes, we have these calibrated sculk sensors, which will... wrong button. Which will only detect certain sculk signals. So if I break these blocks, it's not detecting it. And amethyst blocks can now be used to change sculk signals. So if I walk around near that sculk sensor, it'll activate that sculk sensor, and then the amethyst block will... I don't know what the justification is for this, so I don't know what I should be saying the sculk or the amethyst block is doing. But whatever it's doing it, and that sculk sensor is activating and lighting up. Now, the calibrated sculk sensor, pretty self-explanatory. You feed in a redstone charge. In this case, I've used a lectern, typical 15-page book setup, and then it only takes, it only accepts a sculk signal of the appropriate value. So, walking around only triggers it. Don't trigger that sculk sensor by destroying blocks. Now, with these two things, I have done much chicanery. This here is the cathedral. I said, this is the cathedral. Oh, never mind. This is the cathedral. We've called it that for hopefully obvious reasons. Yeah, so this is a sculk bank, in addition to looking like a cathedral. It's not actually a cathedral, we just called it that, because it's a very foreboding name and it's a very foreboding place. So what this does is we have a bunch of sculk sensors. We have 15 of them to be precise. Each of them changed to a different value, so that we're just sending around 15 different sounds. And then there's some redstone and such for sending values, and just as a demo, wait for it. Yeah, it activates a light, and it's a specific light. I'll explain that bit later. Anyway, but you may have noticed that this is unimaginably large. It's just a mammoth structure, so that's not good. Also, if I flick this lever again, if I flick that lever again to prove, darn you, I'm proving a point here. There we go. It can take a bit of a while for the message to be sent, and that's because this is so big, it takes a while for the sculk signal to get around, and we only have one point where we're sending the sculk signals from, because otherwise this would be so much worse. So yeah, this being big is bad for many reasons. So what we have tried to do, and when I say we, a few of me mates also worked on this with me. I'm going to link their channels, so you can just sort of try and persuade them to work on this. Or, well, not work. So you can just sort of persuade them to document what they've been doing, because they understand a lot more of this stuff than I do. And as I go on, stuff will get more complicated and redstoney, and I don't understand redstone well enough to explain it. So, this was our first attempt at making that monstrosity smaller. The sculk sensors are missing, I don't know why, but how this one works is signals are just sort of passed along, it zigzags back and forth. All of the following models are based off of just zigzagging the signal back and forth, and then having a sensor here that sends the signal back down, and it loops around. Now, a few tests later, and a lot of insanity and some celebration because we managed to get it only 8 blocks deep, which I'm impressed with. Yeah, we managed to get it 8 blocks deep. So, 1 wide, tileable, however many, 10 blocks tall about, and 8 deep. So, we can fit, of course, all 15 that we need to use all of the individual sculk signals in a single chunk, but then we could just have another set of them on the other half of the chunk, which wouldn't be useful per se. It would just be cool. Ignore that setup. We were testing making it narrower with barrels, but it just becomes not worthwhile. So, with our newly narrowed setup, this is the Mark V, Mark 6. Mark 5 is I think that one there, which was half finished, because we kept realizing, oh yeah, here's a way we could make it narrow. Yeah. Good times, good times. So now, if I flick any one of these levers, like this one, a few seconds later, on game mode, this is a few seconds later. I don't know. Oh, I know why. So this illustrates a bit of a problem you can have with these machines, which is if they're not in permanently loaded chunks, then the sound waves you're cycling through, they just disappear. So that's something you need to keep in mind. And yeah, that is painful because every time we've lost the sound in this one, and I've only just worked out why, because I'm slow. Yeah, there's a reason why I wasn't in charge of redstone. Anyway, if this was working, it would have been just proper quick. I can probably... I'm just going to quickly... there we go. So now I should be able to send 1 or 2. Maybe only 2. Yeah, see, there you go. It's proper quick. It's less than a second to send the message instead of waiting 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 seconds for the sculk signals to loop around there. Now, you may be interested in this redstone. How this works is rather simple, really. Here we have a lever, which triggers an observer, which triggers this piston, which pushes these slime or honey blocks forward, redstone, which charges the comparator, which deactivates a redstone torch, which retracts this piston, which, if I go in spectator mode, yep, you can see it lifts a wall block, which allows the signal to... I thought that that sculk sensor had picked up the sound of me phasing through a block in spectator. No, that's just the one I've gotten to work. Anyway, so it allows a sculk signal to go to here, goes through this block, activates this, goes over there, activates this decoder setup, and at the same time, very importantly, because all of the signals go through here, if we have this if we have a redstone line fed from this sensor, goes up here, goes into this block. Ignore this. This is for other bits of redstone that I'll explain later, much later. Anyway, so goes across this line, which will activate these pistons, which will push back the redstone, which will reset it every time a message goes through. So then you can send your next... I really want to send another signal, but I'm too lazy to set up more than one because, yeah. very important thing. If you're using Soundstone, very important that you just keep the chunks loaded, because otherwise it's a pain and things don't work. Now, potential uses. Obviously, you can just use this for fun. It's not that bad, but it's slightly painful to build. Because it's just so packed together at this point that it is a bit of a pain to build, but it's not that bad. It's probably, in most cases, not worth much beyond just sort of a trinket or a curiosity for a Minecraft server you build this on, but you could also set up a red coder, which would be an interesting use, so you can see how full a chest is, and then based off that you can send a signal so you always know how full a chest is, which could be useful. A possible use might be a industrial farm setup where you have a lot of farms and you want to know, well, how full is my gunpowder farm? How much inventory space do I still have left in my iron farm, etc. Or if you really just like being able to sleep, you can try to create a redstone keyboard. And this is where it would be really handy to have one of my mates on, because they understand all of this circuitry. My eyes start glazing over when they explain how this works. So basically, we're trying to design something that'll... You can press one of these buttons. Oh gosh, I think this works. I'm not sure. Sort of works. Anyway, we can press one of these buttons and then fiddly bits of encoding. All of the testing stuff is too far away from the actual stuff we've built. Anyway, bits of decoding, flicks one of these levers, sends the message, gets to here, reaches the decoders. Should probably explain how these work. Calibrated sculk sensor, lectern, comparator. There, I've explained it. Anyway, so you have that business with the decoder, and then you have an honest to God scrolling screen. One of me mates made a scrolling screen, different one from the one making the keyboard, and it sort of works. Like, we don't have a way to automatic. Currently not working shulker memory. So they're also working on shulker memory. Yes, I know what that means. Definite. Anyway, that's probably all I'm going to say in this episode, because that's all I have time for. But if you're interested in this, stay tuned, because you ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to get like a proper system where you press one of the buttons on the keyboard, send sculk, then you have a screen that tells you what you've sent. Eh? How cool is that? It's proper, maybe not a computer, but like some sort of messaging system. And also you should subscribe to me mates. I'm linking their channels here. Just persuade them to document how this stuff works, because I have no clue and I cannot do justice in explaining it. Thanks for watching. Bye.